Today I'd like to speak about what is expecting us, not so much on this earth because I'm not a prophet, but what we know about the other world. You know, Our Lady, when she came to Medjugorje, she found some Catholics in the village, but they were very simple, and she meant to teach the children that she had gathered, 6 children, to teach them the deep elements of the faith. And it was a long teaching that lasted like 7 or 10 years, and she went through everything. The one thing she went through with them, and it concerned all of us, is what happened when one died. And we are all concerned by this because unless there is someone very special here, we all one day leave from this earth. And then we will enter eternity, and eternity is very long. It's extremely long. So we've got to prepare this eternity very carefully, very lovingly. And so one of the experiences that Our Lady gave the children, they all saw heaven and purgatory. Some didn't see hell because they said, okay, I'm enough with purgatory, I don't want to see. For example, Ivan said, I don't want to see hell because I've got enough with purgatory, I can't stand it. So, but 2 of them, Vitska and Yakov, in the year 81 or maximum 82, but I think 81, were brought a special journey. And this is how it happened. They were coming from Mostar, and they were very hungry. So Yakov and Vitska, Yakov said to Vitska, let's go to Mom. So the house of Yakov was extremely simple, and they would sleep on the floor. There was no space. Stone house, so freezing cold in winter and torrid in summer, and very little food, and very, very, very great poverty. So Yaakov was the only son, and she had no husband. The husband was not there. So they entered the room, and they said to the mother of Yaakov, we are hungry, can you prepare some food for us? And then she said, of course, and she turned around, and with the little thing that she had as food, she prepared a plate for them. When she turned around again to give them that plate with food, there was no one there anymore. And there was no way they had gone out. She looked out, she looked all around, they had really disappeared. But in those days, it was very dangerous to disappear because you never knew if your kids had been stolen by the communists, or if, because that would happen, they would, as a threat, take your children and then make pressure on you, and, so you could expect anything, So she was terrified. And she went to all the village to say, have you seen the kids? Have you seen the kids? Nobody had seen them. It was very, very bizarre, very weird that they had not, that disappeared. So 20 minutes later, they reappeared. Suddenly they were back in the room. So here what had happened. While the mother was preparing the food, Audi appeared unexpectedly to them, Vitska and Yakov. And she said to them, would you like to come with me? I would like to show you heaven, purgatory, and hell. So the little Yakov, very courageous, said to her, well, you better take Vitska because she has many brothers and sisters. I'm alone as a boy in the family, so take her because he was not sure they would come back from that trip, As for Vitska, was very solidly the feet on the ground. She thought, how long will this take? Because they're about to plant the tobacco. So while they were thinking that, they already convinced them, and she took Yaakov with the left hand and Vitska with the right hand. No, I tell you what Witzka said, because Yaakov, when you tell him, tell us about what happened, he said, ask Witzka, because when I said that, I cry and I can't speak. So only Witzka witnesses that. So Witzka told us that the roof of the place opened up, and out of the blue they found themselves in heaven with Our Lady. And when she describes heaven, she said it's a huge place with no limit, and there is a light there that does not exist on earth. And she saw many people there, beautiful people, all young, like 30 years old, more or less, all dressed with long robes and 3 different colors. And she mentioned that these colors do not exist on earth, so I don't even try to mention the colors. She tried it a little bit like yellow, gray, and red or something like that, but it doesn't exist on earth. So. But very bright colors, very beautiful, and this light that you do not know on earth. And then these people were dancing, singing. She saw also the angels with them in heaven, and Ali was making the commentary of the visit, you know. And she said, look, dear children, how happy these people are. Nothing is lacking them. There is nothing they want. They have fulfilled, you know. So I said to Witzka, wow, did you feel the joy of heaven in your heart? And she said, yes, I did. And to what extent, I can't tell because I was not there. But, and I said, oh, didn't you feel like staying there instead of continuing the journey? I said, no, sister, one, you have tasted the happiness of heaven. You don't want to leave from heaven. But, she said, I knew that Ali had a plan on my life that was to transmit her messages. So I loved her so much that out of love for her, I didn't want to break this hope that she had on me that I would give the messages. So I decided to follow up in them. So the next station was Purgatory. Now in Purgatory, when they arrived there, always with Our Lady, they found a place with kind of smoke, you know, like a fog, something like that, a cloud, a fog. And so they could not see the people there, but they could hear that this place was packed. And they could hear the cries of pain from these people. And Ali said, look, dear children, how these people are suffering. They wait for your prayers to be able to go to heaven. Now, Witzka told me that, you know, sister, once you have been just a few seconds in Purgatory, you will never forget to pray for the souls in the Purgatory, for the poor souls. And you would want to empty Purgatory. And she said, you know, it was so, the pain was so obvious there that if Our Lady and Jesus had not given us a very special grace to bear being there, we would have not stood to be there. It was so painful. And Ali spoke to them and said, you know, dear children, these people are waiting for your prayers to go to heaven. I ask you to pray daily for the souls in Purgatory. And dear children, when you pray for the souls in Purgatory, you obtain new intercessors who will in their turn pray for you in heaven as a reward, as a reward. And especially they will ask God that you get less attached to earthly things and more attached to godly things. Because why are they in Purgatory? Because they were too attached to earthly things. They didn't think enough that they had a soul and an eternity to be prepared. So they were very earthly, and they ended up in Purgatory. Now, one thing Ali didn't say, but all the mystics of the church said, all of them, that the littlest pain in Purgatory is more painful than the most painful pain on earth. So I have a question. Are you interested to go to Purgatory?
No.
I have another question. Who think that sure enough he will end up or she will end up in purgatory? Raise your hand. Okay, I'm very glad to come because now I hope at the end of our meeting you change your mind.
I think we all have
Pardon?
I think we all have to make some preparation.
That's not healthy theology.
Well, that's not
We don't have to go to purgatory. God's plan for us is that we go directly to heaven. It's because we are naughty and we are bad that we go to purgatory, but that's not God's plan. The plan of God is dreaming that we all go directly to purgatory. Purgatory has been like due to the mercy of God for those who have lacked love on earth. So he, instead of putting them in hell, he said, okay, I'll be merciful, they will be purified from the lack of love before they can enter heaven. But the St. John of the Cross is teaching that God is always giving enough graces on earth, enough occasion to repent, enough occasion to, I would say, to repair our, by penance, by fasting, by, pilgrimages and acts of charities, to not have any debts from the sins, to be forgiven but not keep any debt for the sin. God is organizing our life so much so that we should go all to heaven directly. If we miss doing that because we didn't catch the opportunities to be sanctified that God has given us. So that's what the visit of the purgatory, and already I said that in purgatory you have different levels. Same in heaven and same in hell, and same on earth, So there is a level that is very close to the exit, I would say. They go very close to heaven. Those who are ready to go to heaven. There is another zone in purgatory that is close to hell. And these people, they suffer so much, it's like hell, And then the more we pray for them, the more they get closer to the door that leads to heaven. This is why, if you want to make an act of charity and you're stuck at home and you don't know what to do, and an act of charity, say a prayer for the souls in purgatory. That's the best act of charity because they suffer so much, they suffer more than all the sick on earth, And it's a very bad act of love, euthanasia, suffering. It's a very bad calculation because sometimes God allows a person to suffer by the end of the life, or even in the middle of the life, so that they avoid purgatory. And if they don't offer their suffering, the church does. During Mass, we offer all the suffering of the world. In that drop of water that we put in the wine, it's what we offer from our earth, our work, our pain, our suffering, our joy, or the event, the dear ones. And so with the chalice, our pain are offered, and the pains of our dear ones, and those who do not know Jesus, who maybe never go to Mass. So that's the purgatory. Now they went to hell. Hell, according to Vitska, the way she saw hell, she saw that in that place, there was a fire in the middle. But again, she said a fire not like the fire we have on earth. And Jesus himself speaks about that fire of hell in the Gospel. And she said that she saw some people walking, like the people we could meet in the industry, normal people. But what was weird is that these people would throw themselves into the fire without anybody pushing them. And they would throw themselves into the fire, and when they would get out of the fire, they were transformed into horrible monsters, like ferocious animals and things. So much so that Vitska said it was difficult to think that they were human beings. They were so transformed, ugly and cursing and violent and horrible, horrible things. So they were terrified. And they said to Mother Mary, how come God puts some people in hell when He's so good? She said, no, dear children. God does not put anybody in hell. But she said, there are people on earth who choose to do everything against God, everything against the will of God. And needless to say that, one thing that increases in number today is the number of sects, Satanist sects. Those make a pact with Satan to fight against God, against the church, to destroy the church, to destroy the priests, to destroy the faith, to destroy the churches, to destroy anything that looks like Christian. So these people exist, and they decide to be against God. So she said, these people start hell in their own hearts, and unless they are converted, even at the last minute, the same hell continues, but for eternity. And she said, those who go to hell are those who choose to go to hell. It's not that they choose on earth to go to hell, but choosing to not be with God. There is only hell, because everything where God, every place where God is, in the other world, it's heaven. The presence of God makes any place heaven. And you remember that in Fatima, Ali showed hell also to the 3 little shepherds. The little one was 6. What mother today would allow the little one of 6 to see hell? None of us. Ali did. But this little one, Jacinta, became a great saint. It's not my job to speak about her today, but let me tell you that she has been marked for the rest of her life, short life, she was been marked by a great desire to prevent anyone else to go to hell. She was so compassionate for those souls that were there, that there is no way that one more soul goes to hell. And she sacrificed so much so that when she was at the end of her life, she was very sick, and she was to undergo surgery, and she was in the big hospital of Lisbon. It's a big room, not like little cells that we have now in London, but on one big room with like 20, 30, 50 beds, one on a row like this. They were poor. She occupied one of the beds, and the doctor said, you've got to undergo a surgery. And Ali had appeared to her. Not only was 6 times that we know of, but she had more operations after that, in personal, private operations. And Ali had said to her, I will come that day to pick you up and get you to heaven. So she knew she was going to die, that Ali would come like 3-4 days later. But when the doctor said tomorrow, we'll make a surgery, she said, she was so humble, said, okay, you do it. She knew that it was absolutely useless. But she asked for one thing. Now listen. She was 7. She asked that the surgery would be made without any anesthetic. And she was cut. I know her, that's why I'm a little emotional. Okay. Pray to Jesus that I'm not becoming emotional. We save time, okay? She was so in love with Jesus. And she shared with Jesus this desire that everyone would be saved. That she was ready to do anything, even for the salvation of one soul. And she accepted to be cut and to be under surgery without. Can you imagine the pain for a little one of 7? It tells you that when you have seen hell and the pain for eternity, the pain that you're ready to suffer anything, but to save at least one or several or millions of souls. This is when Jesus inhabits a soul. you know, so beautiful, the kind of love. That's love. That's divine love. That's not human love, it's divine love, because she had the strength to undergo the whole thing. And the next day or 2 days later, Agni came and she went to heaven straight. Now, after her death, the whole hospital were the perfume of roses that last, I don't remember, a few months or a few years. You could enter the room and there was perfume of roses. So, after they had seen hell, they returned to earth, and as I said to you, they were found on the same room where they departed from. But on the way, I already said to them, look, I've shown you these 3 places so that you may know they exist, and that you may tell others. This is also why I'm telling you now. It's important today, the special way today, with all these lies from the New Age stuff, with all fake spiritualities, errors. It's important that we also teach our children and little children that after death there is either heaven, purgatory, or hell. There is nothing else. And I already said to them, I've shown you, so that also you may pray for the sinners that they may not go to hell. And then there was a question posed to Vitska by a pilgrim. And the Vitska said to Our Lady from a pilgrim, Mother, is there any reincarnation after death? And she said, no, dear children, reincarnation does not exist, because after death there is eternity. And it's a mistake to teach people that after death you come back to life in another body. That's a mistake. But there is another mistake that she pointed out. Many people, she said, think that after death there is nothing. No, dear children, this is a big mistake, because after death there is eternity. And your life on earth, dear children, is very short comparing to eternity. It's like a walk you take, like the time of a walk, passeggiata, you know. And this is why, dear children, you should always live with the perspective of heaven. Speak about heaven, think about heaven, pray to go to heaven.